Graphics card prices are spiking, but your budget is still the same. How on earth are you going to afford to build your rig? Don't worry, we're going to show you all the places to cut your budget without losing any performance so you can get the GPU of your dreams. Coming right up. Hi, welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. Today we're going to go over a topic that I think is really critical for PC builders who are building in the GPU apocalypse right now. As we went over in previous videos, GPU prices are absolutely skyrocketing right now, even if you get one at MSRP, because the MSRPs themselves are going up. So what is a PC builder to do if you have a fixed budget like most people, or maybe you can just bend it a little bit, but it's still pretty fixed, and the GPU prices just keep going up and up and up? Don't worry, we're going to go through a number of different places that we can cut your budget on all kinds of different components where I see people overspending all of the time. Of course, that's what this channel is all about. It's about getting you the best price to performance in your builds. If that's content you want more of and want to support, remember to like the video, subscribe, and click the bell icon. With that, let's jump right into it. So how do you save money on your build in order to afford your graphics card? If you notice here in the build that we've got just to my left, we've got a Gigabyte RTX 3070 graphics card, and this is actually the same graphics card that I did my recent build with. Really good card, but as everybody knows, instead of selling for the MSRP of $500-ish, maybe $600 for a board partner card, it's really selling for more like $800 to $900 at MSRP if you can get one using like Newegg Shuffle, or you can jump in using a Discord bot or something like that. Whereas you thought you were going to spend $500, maybe $600 on your graphics card, you're now spending $900, maybe even $1,000. As you can see, while this is overall this is a good build, I don't have any problems with this build. In terms of gaming performance, there's a lot of components in this build. We've got a Ryzen 9, we've got a high-end air cooler, we've got an X570 board, we've got memory that we might be able to tweak. We've definitely got some storage options to look at, and the case, as well as the power supply. All of these options could probably be trimmed down quite a bit. And let's see how much we can trim it down in order to afford our graphics card, because that is what is going to drive this thing. We may even end up saving enough money to afford a higher end graphics card, or at least not having to cut the 3070 down to something like a 3060, right? So let's see what we can save. Let's start with the number one area I think you might be able to save some money in this particular build, which is the CPU. In this case, we've got a Ryzen 9 5900X, fantastic productivity CPU, really good for gaming. However, do you really need to spend this much for gaming? It's not even really in stock. We've put in the MSRP of $549, but I think we can do a lot better here. Let's take a look at what some of our options are. If we are just going for productivity, we could of course look at something like the Ryzen 9 3900X for $484. It's actually in stock. You can get it. It will ship directly to you right now for $485. And the gaming performance is still pretty good for the 3900X. However, if we want to spend even a little bit less than that, we could look at the Ryzen 7 5800X. Yes, not the best price to performance in terms of vis-a-vis the 5900X if you're talking pure productivity, but if you're talking productivity and gaming, far cheaper. It's in stock right now at Best Buy, at Newegg, at Amazon for $450. You can get it delivered to you, in a couple of days, as opposed to trying to hunt it down. And the gaming performance is absolutely phenomenal, and the productivity is actually really good as well. Another option is to go for the Ryzen 5 5600X. Now, at the time of filming this video, the 5600X has gone out of stock again. It had been in stock for a couple of weeks, and everyone says, oh, it's in stock, and now everyone's rushed out to buy it. I believe it will come back in stock in the next couple of weeks, but if you don't want to wait, you can get one right now, either from a third-party seller on Amazon or Newegg, or buying one off of eBay for about $350 is what you can get it for a reputable seller. And in this case, that's what we're going to do. Now, you can also look at other budget gaming processors. The i5 10400 and 11400 are fantastic. The 10600K i5 10600K is another good one. In this particular case, we're going to stick with the 5600X. We're going to keep the Ryzen build. Now let's jump into what I think is the number one overspent piece of hardware in a PC build, and that is the motherboard. So many people have been sold a bill of goods by marketing departments at these board partners that tell you need all this PCIe 4.0, you need tons of it to future-proof your build. Oh my gosh, I swear every time they say that, your wallet gets lighter, they make more money, and you get less out of your motherboard. So let's right size this motherboard. Now, there's nothing wrong with the X570 Aorus Elite Wi-Fi. It's a perfectly fine board. It's got a lot of connectivity on it, but for $220, it's overpriced for a gaming build. So let's see what some of our options are. Well, if we dump the PCIe 4.0 and we just want to go straight for all those features, including a better audio codec on it, there is the MSI B450 Gaming Pro Carbon Max Wi-Fi. I know it's a mouthful of words, but it's got phenomenal VRMs. You could put up to a 5950X on this. It's got Wi-Fi. It's got great connectivity. It's got amazing audio, great memory compatibility. This was MSI's flagship B450 board. This is the Tomahawk's big brother, basically. And you can get it for only $140, including Wi-Fi. That's crazy. Of course, you could look at me and say, Jason, I absolutely have to have PCIe 4.0 because something. Okay, fine. Well, let's go with the B550 board then. The Asus TUF Gaming B550M Plus Wi-Fi 6. Now, you don't have to get Wi-Fi on the board. You can always buy a USB Wi-Fi adapter for anywhere from $10 to $20. But let's go ahead and throw the Wi-Fi in. Let's get the same feature set as the X570 board, except not X570, because B550 still has PCIe 4.0 in the main graphics card slot and in the main M.2 slot. Not that you're going to be dumb enough to buy a PCIe 4.0 drive because they're stupid expensive. We'll get into that in a second. So for $160 here, this is what we're going to go with. I like to buy micro ATX boards because you often don't usually use those PCIe slots. If you need them, get the ATX size, and they will fit in any size case. So you open up your whole case selection. So let's go ahead and go with the Asus TUF Gaming B550M Plus Wi-Fi for $160. Now let's talk about the memory and how to save some money on the memory. Now, if you watch my best memory for Ryzen, you'll know that you only really get benefits out of super fast memory if you're running something like a 3080 or a 3090 graphics card at 1080p and you're trying to pump out huge amounts of frame rate, because the 5600X is fully capable of taking full advantage of most graphics cards in the current generation. And at 1440p, those differences go away altogether, and there's really no benefit, at least in this generation of graphics cards, to faster memory if you're going to game at 1440p or 4K. There may be in the next generation, but not now. So we're using a kit at G-Skill Ripjaws 32 gigabyte. It's a 4x8 kit. Now, yes, you get 4 sticks in this one, so you're getting all the benefits. It's 3600 CL16. It's really the super duper sweet spot. But memory prices have gone way up since I did that video. And frankly, in our build, at a 3070 level, we're probably going to be doing 1440p gaming. I don't see the benefit in buying this particular memory kit for $229. Instead, if we can find a memory kit. Let's just scroll down here. Let's just look for something that's 3200 CL16 or 3600 CL18. In fact, let's look at 3600 CL18. Maybe that'll be a better compromise. And of course, we want something that is 2x16 or 4x8. Either of those are going to be fine. They're going to give you dual rank. We can see there's actually an RGB kit. I never know how to say these folks. It's either Olo or YOLO. Warhawk. It's a RGB kit, 32. In fact, that kit looks great to me. I'm going to go ahead and take that. But if you wanted a different kit, there's a T-Force one. There's Silicon Power one. There's another Oloy, and they're all about $20 together. So we're just going to go ahead and add that in. And now we've lopped off another $70 off of our build. And really, we haven't lost any real performance whatsoever. That brings us to the storage. This has got to be, next to motherboards, the most overspent area, period, because people think they need this super duper fast storage for gaming or even productivity, when in fact there is almost no benefit to it. And frankly, not even at the fast M.2 speeds. You could actually come down most times to SATA 3 speeds at SSD levels and be absolutely fine and have the same exact load times, maybe a maybe a millisecond or two off. For this example, we've got the Samsung 970 EVO Plus. It's a 1TB M.2 drive. It's a fantastic drive. Don't get me wrong, but at $170, that's way more than we want to spend. We could save quite a bit of money here. And let's see what we can get instead. Let's look for something that's at least 960 gigs. In other words, 1TB. That's an SSD. So as you can see, we get a number of drives. Now, not all these drives have DRAM on them. I would prefer to get something with DRAM on it or something with a really solid host memory buffer process on it. That way, when the handful of times I do huge file transfers, I'm not sitting there until the end of time. And I'm actually going to scroll down to, I really like the Silicon Power A60. It doesn't have DRAM, but it does have a really good HMB process, host memory buffer process on it. And in fact, that's the one I think I'm going to take. You could also go with a Western Digital Blue SN550, another really good drive. But I'm going to go with the Silicon Power A60. It's one I recommended my best drives last year. And really, I don't see any reason to change that here. As you can see, it's $67 cheaper for the same amount of storage. Let's go ahead and, in fact, delete the 970 EVO. And there we are. We've saved yet more money. And I'm going to tell you, you do not want to get a PCIe 4.0 drive. They're way too expensive right now. And gaming and even productivity work, you will not see the benefit except in very specific use cases. They are great for data centers, not great for ordinary consumers. That brings us to some other areas that people often overspend on, and we're just going to go rapid fire through them. The first one I'm going to start with is the power supply. Now, I did a whole video on how to get a better power supply. I'm going to leave that up in the card right there. You can check it out. The power supply we've got spec'd out for this system is not bad. It's, in fact, it's a very good one. It's the RMX Corsair 850 watt gold. However, the prices on power supplies have gone way up, especially as you go up in power. And that's because miners are buying the crap out of these things right now because they want power supplies that can run an entire rig and a ton of graphics cards all at once. So I would recommend do not oversize your power supply, especially right now. You're going to pay through the nose for it. Make sure to right size your power supply. And remember, in that video, I show you how to size it. So let's go with what we should be sizing here, which is says it's going to draw 400 watts. Fine. So we're looking for something that's about 600 watts total if we multiply it by 1.5. Let's see what we get. And in fact, we'll even go with a bronze unit because, as I told you in my video, there's really not a big difference between gold and bronze. There just isn't. It just tends to be the higher quality units as you go up. They just make them automatically gold because, it's marketing. So, and they want to sell the power supply to you. So we're looking for a 600 watt power supply. And of course, I've cheated in PC Part Picker. I've gone through and starred ones that I would take, or they're on the Linus Tech Tips PSU Cultist list. I'm going to scroll down here because this often does take a little while to do. And I'm going to just jump down to the one that I'm going to take, which is the Be Quiet Pure Power 11. It's, I believe, on the B tier, perfectly fine for this build, 80 plus gold, and it's a 600 watt unit. You can size it up a little bit to 650 if you want. However, there's really no reason to do it for this particular build. And we're going to save an absolute ton of money by going with an $80 unit instead of, I think the other one was a $160 unit. So we've cut the price of that in half. Now we're going to jump over to the cooler. Now it's great that we were able to downsize the CPU because frankly, we can downsize the cooler with it too and save even more money. We certainly don't need a Dark Rock Pro 4, a great cooler, one of the best coolers for Ryzen, as I called out in my video when Ryzen 5000 launched. However, don't need it for a Ryzen 5600X. The 5600X could be cooled with the included box cooler if we really wanted to. However, there is some performance to pick up by at least getting either a 3 or 4 kind of standard tower FinStack cooling unit. We're either going to go with something right now. The one I keep recommending is the Be Quiet Pure Rock Slim because the prices come all the way down and crashed at $25. That's a great one. The GAMX 400 is equally good. If you really want to get one of the Hyper 212 ones, I believe they've got the Cooler Master Hyper 212 here for $30. Let's just go down. Let's get one that I often don't recommend because I think you're paying for style, which is the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Black Edition. They did just re-release this as the V2. In fact, I see the Hyper 212 V2 here, but let's go with the original. Let's just go ahead and add this in. Perfectly capable cooler, and as you can see, it's half the price, less than half the price of the Dark Rock 4. And we're going to go ahead and get rid of the Dark Rock 4. Boom. There we go. All right, and finally, let's take a look at the case. Now, this is an amazing case. It's the Lee & Lee LandCool 2 Mesh ATX. It looks phenomenal. I did put an additional fan in here because it did not have a rear exhaust fan with it. You always want at least one rear exhaust. 3-to-1 ratios, okay. But for $138, it looks like you can at times get it for $130. Probably way more than we want to spend right now. And because we got a micro ATX motherboard, we could actually get a micro ATX case as well. So let's go through and do that. In fact, the case I'm going to look for is going to be the Cooler Master Box. It's the MB311L ARGB. Now it comes with 2 really nice ARGB fans. It sells for over at Amazon for about $63. It's right here. It's got great mesh to it. And we still have the one fan that we've included. In fact, I believe it's a Cooler Master fan, so it'll match perfectly. So let's go ahead and add this to the build as well for $62 and save ourselves $70. So let's take a look at the results. We started off with a build that had an X570 motherboard, a CPU that was total overkill, power supply overkill, storage overkill. But I see this kind of build all the time. People say, this is what I'm building, $2,500. Oh my gosh, how do I afford my graphics card? It's now gone from $500 up to $1,000 up to $1,500. Well, we right-sized the build. Let's take a look at what we did. We actually removed $650 of what I would consider bloat in this build. We right-sized the CPU, we right-sized the cooler as a result, we definitely right-sized the motherboard, and we got out of features we did not need. Right-sized the memory just by coming down in terms of the cache latency from 16 to 18 and going from 4 sticks of 8 gigabytes to 2 sticks of 16. And then, of course, we fixed the storage, we fixed the power supply, and we downsized the case into something that's still really cool, but it's not going to cost us an arm and a leg. And that gets us a $650 cost savings. So those are some areas of your budget that you can cut without losing any performance so that you can get the graphics card that you want. What do you think about the areas that we cut? What would you do differently than me? And I'd love to hear down in the comments, what do you think about cutting back on your motherboard, cutting back on the CPU, cutting back on the memory, and some other areas where, yes, as an overall little piece of it, you'll lose a little bit of performance here and there, but you'll still be able to afford a much better graphics card. So you're still going to get overall as much, if not even sometimes more performance by trimming down your budget. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. As always, that's what we're here to do, give you the best price to performance in your builds. If that's content you like and you got value out of this, remember to give it a like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. And with that, we'll catch you on the next one.